Angel, what have you seen lately?
I saw Sinners. I
Okay.
think that was the last movie I saw in theaters, and I've been doing my Mission Impossible rewatch. I'm up to part four, so I got to watch part four this week. I got four, five, six, and seven, so I got 4 weeks left before the new movie comes out. So I'm doing like one a week, so
How do they
doing
hold
pretty.
up? How do they hold up compared to each other so far?
The first 3 are just so different. Just seeing those, like, back to back.
Mhm.
The first 3 are just completely different. Stylistically, they're different. You got De Palma on the first one, John Woo second, and then J.J. Abrams doing the third, and they're all fun. I think the weakest story-wise is part 2,
Interesting.
but it's got great action. It picks up in the second half, I feel, but rewatching part 3 it's good. It's a solid effort, for, like, JJ.
Solid effort.
Yeah,
That's
like
such a compliment.
for his first feature, there's a lot of fun stuff in there that's cool to see, like the making of the mask, that sequence.
Mhm.
The music's great. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in that. The bridge sequence, the attack there is just it's pretty cool. And then like what I really loved, and from I remember when the trailer came out, there's that shot of a drone missile hitting a car on the bridge, and Tom Cruise like explodes off of it and
Mhm.
crashes into that car. That was like really cool. But yeah, it's fun. So part
So
four
this
probably
series
tomorrow.
so far holds up better than Batman, all of them in order.
I mean, it's a different beast.
Batman had a
Uh,
couple of some untamed beasts in its run though.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. It's not apples to apples, I think, but it's fun.
It's
The
apples
next
to oranges
four,
and kumquats.
yes. But Sinners saw that in theaters and IMAX. It was great. It was our third episode, our third podcast where we,
I've heard really good things. I've heard everybody's seen it has been pretty amped about it.
yeah, no, it's really good. Definitely great in theaters. It's a great experience in
I
theaters.
just read about the making of there's one shot that is like under the radar, but because you have the same actor playing two characters was really hard to do. And it was when so I haven't seen it, but I read about the scene and it was when he smokes a cigarette and then hands it to himself essentially and smokes that
Yeah.
to film that they did like an insane amount of rehearsal with like a double to make sure that it matched the exact moment where the cigarette is, so
Yeah.
that they could then pick it up, and he could match from both angles.
Yeah, I've heard of read a little snippets or like seen little snippets of them talking about that. I think Michael B. Jordan had to wear like a halo thing on his head
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
cameras and things. So be curious to see the behind the scenes and just the post process of that, how they put that
yeah.
together.
Well, I think it's really interesting too because it's some of the stuff. It's related to filmmaking. People go, oh, like why is filmmaking so expensive? And it's because you need a light things so that it looks natural because when you use natural light in indoors or things like that, it comes off looking fake. And you need all these different things to make it more realistic. And so for when you have the same actor playing multiple roles, the intricacies that go into it, I think most people they're just watching the scene and they're like, "Oh, that's cool." Like that happened, but they don't realize how complicated the behind the scenes to make it actually work are. I mean, there's like, Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of movies with sort of doubles and how they pulled it off. I was reading the thing, and it was related to just all these movies and the different advancements in technology. And there's a Buster Keaton, I believe, one where he plays all of the members of a orchestra and also the audience, and they had to burn it into uh, the film, so they reversed the film, and then they like blocked off part of the camera so that it didn't film that area, and then they would unblock that part and reveal that part, and then have the film play it back right on top of it. So they were doing it in the film itself, which is like insane.
Yeah, that's old school VFX that they're
Yeah.
just exposing certain sections of the film strip on for each take and for each portion. That's just like old school
You
VFX
can't no
techniques in it.
monitoring. It's just that's
No,
which
it's
is, like,
crazy.
impressive.
I mean, that was a technique even used in the 60s, 70s before computers, like, even Star
Mhm,
Wars, like, the original, like, they use that. It's they block out portions of it when they're, like, filming the miniatures or things like
mhm.
that. Blade Runner used that technique. That was, but yeah, it's crazy how, like, back in the 30s or whenever Buster Keaton was doing that stuff, like, it's really cool.
Yeah, and then, like, the level above that was they recorded on both on separate film, but on halves of it, and then they, like, kinda cut the film and then re-film the film.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
it's wild.
it's cool, it's cool. I'm working on something that I use, like, DaVinci Resolve's Magic Mask, and it's using AI to sort of do things that couldn't be done before as easily. Well, I mean, you do it with green screen. You have Paul. I mean, we're gonna be talking about a Paul Rudd movie, and Paul Rudd is in that the TV show, right, where he's playing multiple versions of himself, similar thing. And my understanding is it's all about that preparation. The eye lines
Mhm.
are, the eye lines and timing is just so important because you have to match it from the other side.
Yeah.
So I watched on streaming The Marvels. I may have missed a couple of like the Ms. Marvel and then maybe the other one who plays Monica. I don't know if you've seen The Marvels. It's Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and
I did. Yeah.
okay. So I may have missed a couple of them in between because I don't know how like Monica got her powers, but I
Wait,
it
that
was
was I believe that's hold on. I'm trying to remember if that's in Captain Marvel
no, it's not in Captain
rel
Marvel. You mean
or
Captain
it's
Marvel, you
related.
meet the daughter, but the daughter then
Yeah.
gets powers later. I just missed the movie where the daughter gets powers. Um,
I think then it may not be a movie. Wasn't it in the
oh, is it a TV show?
yeah, wasn't it in WandaVerse?
WandaVision, you mean?
So WandaVerse. WandaVision? Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Because her characters or am I who am I thinking
No,
of?
no, 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 not the daughter of the pilot who is Captain Marvel's friend. I don't know, but the main thing is the thing I ran into with that movie, it was really interesting because I think it followed the standard, 3-act structure or Dan Harmon's embryo or story circle in hitting the beats that you should feel connected to, but it didn't pull me in, and I was thinking about, like, what is it about movies that they're hitting all these structure, save the cat, whatever, structure you wanna say, but it doesn't pull you in. And for the Marvels, the thing that hit me, and I think it might be just particular to this one, but it might be for other ones, is every time they ran into a problem, they like got to the solution so quickly. There's like, oh, this thing here. And it's like, oh, well, the solution is I need to get this much energy and I need to go here and I need to do this. And it's like, how did you know that? Like you don't like you just somehow knew the answer. Like there wasn't any, I need to figure it out. And therefore the audience doesn't feel like they're figuring it out with you. It feels like it's almost like mini Deus Ex Machinas where it's just coming in and like, oh, the solution just happens to be that one piece of information that that has never been discussed before. And I think that's what sort of like pulled me out of it. But then that got me thinking about Doctor Strange 2. What is it? Doctor Strange and the multiverse, or it's in that multiverse sphere. And semi spoiler, so I guess blip forward a second if you haven't seen this movie. But the main crux of it, you have the person who can travel through the parallel universes, and then you have Wanda wanting to get the power of traveling between the different parallel universes so that she can get to a universe where her two kids that she imagined existing in WandaVision like are there, right? And she's maniacally going after it, and the idea is like, oh, this is wrong because she's like has to kill or get rid of the Wanda in that universe. And that movie bugged me, but while I was thinking about the Marvels, it made me for some reason think about Wanda in or Scarlet Witch in the Doctor Strange 2, where like they set forth this idea that isn't actually accurate for the even scientific belief that if there is a, a multiverse, there are, infinite number of parallel universes. Oftentimes in movies, they set it out where it's like there's an infinite number of possibilities. There's a cartoon world. There's a sketch world. There's one where everybody's rocks. Like that's not what scientists believe is the multiverse if the multiverse exists. What scientists
What?
believe.
What? I thought, yeah, that's the science I believe in.
Well, so if the science, if scientists like this, the multiverse that scientists believe are like everybody's choice has different routes. And each time you have a different choice, that creates a different universe. But given that no choice we make is going to make a universe that is made out of cartoons, like having a cartoon universe is not part of the infinite number of universes. Like I think of like math in a line, there are an infinite number of points, but in a plane or in space, there are an infinite number of points. But also in a line segment, so just between 2 points, there are an infinite number of points. So therefore, it's not saying every point is a possibility. It's just saying there are an infinite number within reason. But anyway, in Doctor Strange 2, it's this infinite number of choices thing. I think they pass through like a cartoon world and a sketch world and like very weird ones. So if there are an infinite number of possibilities, couldn't Wanda have just gone to this girl and said like, "Hey, I want to go to a universe in which that Wanda had these two kids and she's dead. And I'm just going to go replace her and those kids will then have a mother." Like instead of this like I have to go to a universe and displace another Wanda. Like it could have been much simpler. Like she didn't have to be evil. She didn't have to try and destroy another Wanda in a different universe's existence. And she could have just been like, "Hey, I had this thing with my kids that was in my head, but now I want it to be real. There are an infinite number of universes in which there are kids that don't have a mother. I could go fix that in one of them." But then that would solve the problem and there wouldn't be a evil villain. I don't know. This is just what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I have not. I have not. I haven't seen it in a while, so I can't really sort of comment on the particulars of all of that. But it's an interesting take.
Anyway, speaking of an interesting take, let me just show intro this real quick. Welcome to Trailer Teardowns. I'm one of your co-hosts, Evan Bass Zeisel, joined by Angel Acevedo. And today we're discussing the trailer for Friendship, which is an interesting take on things.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, and it's another A24 movie. We've talked about A24 in the past. So Friendship, written and directed by Andrew DeYoung. He's directed a lot of shorts and episodic series, and Friendship is his first feature.
Mm.
The film stars Tim Robinson, Paul Rudd, and Kate Mara. It's coming out May 9th. And like I said just now, this is the second A24 movie trailer that we're tearing down that also features Paul Rudd. We previously tore down Death of a Unicorn. If you haven't listened to that, check it out. So yeah, what stood out? What do you think of the trailer?
I I thought this was a really interestingly designed trailer. And what I mean by that is, like, I love that it starts out kinda like a meet cute between Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd, and it's this weird, like, creepy, but not like when he gets to the door at the very beginning of this trailer, it's open. Like, first of all, it's, like, half painted, and you're like, "Huh?" And he's dropping off this package, and then the door's, like, kinda swings open, and yet then you get the reverse side of it from Paul Rudd's perspective, and he's like, "Hi, neighbor," and they're friends, but it starts off sort of in this thing that they do throughout this trailer, which I think is really interesting, which is showing both sides or showing something in a way that is opposite to what the visuals are. You have the score that's like this meet cute, like da 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 thing, and yet it's this creepy house and there's a guy in it, but they become, and they become friends. And along with that, there's the score and the color that I thought was really interesting. Well, wait, I'm gonna stop on that. Before I jump into the score and the color, I'm gonna say that about the beginning. What did you think about that? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
Yeah, no, I think it's yeah, that first half. Well, I guess like to backtrack a bit, it's I think are you familiar with Tim Robinson?
Yes. A little bit. I did a egg decorating party, and a friend made the egg that eats other eggs from the video game that Tim Robinson plays in his TV show, or in, like, one episode or one sketch.
I've never seen any of his stuff. I'm familiar with him. You know, his like two big shows. I think you should leave with Tim Robinson. It's a sketch comedy show,
Mhm.
and Detroiters with Sam Richardson. He was also a writer and performer on SNL
Mhm.
for a number of years, but I think he mostly was a writer. But I've never seen any of his shows. I'm more familiar with him through memes and gifs and reels that pop up on Instagram and things like
Hmm.
that. You know, and they're probably used in from episodes of I think you should leave and or
Mhm.
Detroiters.
Yeah.
Just like very funny. Yeah, yeah, I may not know the context of what the image is coming from, but the way it's used in conjunction of like the topic that at hand, if it's sports related or whatever, I find them funny. And so that's my background on him.
And I will say, like, the character he's playing in this, at least what you get from the trailer, is very similar to the characters he plays in his sketch, where it's, like,
Mhm.
grounded, but also kind of
Angry and
off
just
and
like
weird.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and again, yeah, I haven't seen that, so this,
Was
you
your
know, kinda
introduction.
you kinda there's, like, this already implied sort of, like, feeling of, like, "Oh, this is what this character is."
Mhm.
But, yeah, for the first half, like, of that trailer, it plays slow, it has, like, it's, like, a series of long takes, slow cuts, slow fade-ins, fade-outs, you know, you're
And
unsure.
it also just on that, like, the slow cuts and the slow fades are, like, era associated, right? Like, it's kind of, like, more '70s style,
Mhm.
and the color space is also retro kind of feel. I don't know if you agree, but, like, it looked like it was almost color graded to be sort of a '70s style, but that juxtaposed with the fact that they have, like, smartphones, which I thought, and, like, even them sitting in the, like, in a basement, talking Paul Rudd's mustache. It's, like, very '70s, except for it's not. It's modern
Yeah,
times.
it has this feel, and it takes place in suburbia. It just has like this, like just like almost boring feel to it. You know, you
Mhm,
got these like slow zoom ins too, but you're sort of like unsure of like what the tone of this is going to be. It's leaning towards serious drama, but then I'm like, wait, this Tim guy, Tim Robinson, is as far as I know, is like he does loud zany comedy, and
mhm.
Paul Rudd looks like he's doing almost reminds me a bit of like his character from Anchorman with the mustache,
Mm,
Brian
mhm,
Fantana, but not dumb, just like kind of like maybe a darker version, you know, an edgier
mhm,
version of Fantana. But then like almost halfway through, there's this men's group therapy doing a kumbaya with singing, and they're doing an a cappella
mhm.
version. I had to look up the song because I was like, oh, this song sounds familiar. I've never heard of the song. The song's called My Boo by Ghost Town DJs. Yeah, and it's like, what is kind of going on? And you're sort of like reacting and taking it
And it's
all
also
in
a
with
support
Tim.
group, right? Like, it's like emotional support,
Yeah.
and he's like, "What is going on?" And then he's like, "Oh, I it's not toxic masculinity. It's supportive,
Yeah.
like, good masculinity."
Yeah, and then as like many of the trailers that we break down, we get a turn. You know, at
Mhm.
123, the music cue shifts tone, and we get that first quote. I think of from a review, and an absolute nightmare quote.
Which is really interesting. I love that they had the absolute nightmare, but then the next one was, like, amazing comedy or something, right?
Yeah, I think it was like, "Oh, the funniest thing ever," or and I'm like, "Okay, this is not what I was expecting."
Mhm.
The last minute of the trailer is just all tension building with your classic thriller
Yeah.
trailer editing, sound design vibes with the smash cuts, you know, hard cuts, they're smashing with the sound and like as each edit goes, and the sound cue almost plays like a ticking clock all the way
Mm.
through to the title card, final title cards, friendship smashing in.
Yeah, and in the friendship, even the font is, like, almost like a bubble font. It's like a weird smoothness that feels off, but I think that was the whole point. Like, the trailer tried to feel off,
Yeah.
which I think is, like, a great way to do it, because now you get the sense of the film from the trailer,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, it's you get it through you kind of you're getting it from his perspective, Tim. I don't know what his
Mhm.
character's name is in the movie, but Tim Robinson's character, you're just getting it, you're taking it all in with him, like, and it kind of parallels with the music too. The music in the trailer does a good job of like taking you through his emotions and sort of POV. It starts with that whimsical, curious flute. I'm assuming it's a flute or a piccolo.
Mhm,
Then it segues into this sentimental piano when they're doing the support group thing in the basement. Then that fades
mhm,
out, and in comes, like I said earlier, that thriller, fast paced, percussive cue that just drives up the tension, mirroring what his character is probably feeling and going through.
mhm.
So yeah, I think it does a good job there, just saying like, "What the heck is this?"
And I think they did a good job also of not showing that much that it could leave a lot of mystery. Like, there's that one shot with Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd in the car. It could have like a I think it's a convertible,
Mhm,
and, like, that almost seemed like a dream sequence. But at that point in the film the trailer, it's like, is it a dream sequence or did that actually happen? Like, is part of what's we're seeing all just in Tim Robinson's head, and he's a little bit crazy,
mhm.
and he's, like, imagining things.
Yeah, it could be. I
Because and
took
they
it as if, like, he's sort of just like, "Oh, this is what's gonna be like." He's hanging out with him, doing cool stuff. They're at the bar, they're
mhm,
doing karaoke, they're jamming. It has that
I can see
glow.
the future,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That line he has, yeah.
it seems like maybe he's sort of, like, daydreaming of, like, "Oh, wow, this is gonna be an awesome friendship."
And I also like the sort of the tracer or like kind of slow drip moment where in the Kumbaya group, it's the father who's talking about a daughter who I guess is attractive and he sees how guys look at her and he's worried, about how guys are going to treat her or something related to that. And yet later on, it's sort of implied by the quick shot of Paul Rudd and Kate Mara on the TV that there may be hosts together with Tim Robinson's character being like suspicious and now he's worrying that was set up really well earlier as like in your mind as worrying that somebody's going to do something to your loved one because they find them attractive.
Yeah, there's obviously they're
um
dropping little, like, "Oh, conspiracies." I was like, "Oh, is she having an affair? Is he going after his wife?" kinda thing.
Yeah. And even when you get introduced to Kate Mara, I believe the first shot is she's got like these she's putting flowers in a vase and like arranging them. It's like, "Oh, that neighbor invited you. Like you're always here." Which is just like creepy. It's like Stepford wife, but not, and it doesn't fit the era, which I love that aspect,
Yeah,
which I feel like
it
yeah.
just feels very suburban and suburbia, and just like this, he's probably just like in this circle of just like, my life is just like whatever. It's average, is just above boring, or like he's content, and maybe she just wants more for him, and like it doesn't imply that they have kids. So I wonder if he has a kid.
No. Yeah, it doesn't well, it doesn't end, and I thought, like, they circle back to that scene. It appears in the very last line of the trailer where he's like, "Oh, there's that new Marvel movie coming out. Like, we should go see that." And it's just, like, such, like, a absurd, like, simple, suburban kinda, like, thing that you'd feel would fit the genre they're doing, but so weird that it's in the movie that I love that, like, just the weirdness.
Yeah, I had a note about that, the joke tag at the end. I thought that was funny. His I wanna go back and watch I wanna go watch some of his stuff, like his shows. His facial reactions are pretty funny. Like, he emotes a lot. His
Yes,
eyes.
he does that's what he does. That's just him. Yeah, his acting is very much like he just has I don't know, that's his thing.
Yeah, and I
But
think
it
it's
stays
funny.
it stays grounded. It's like it's grounded, but like over the top because the character he plays, the personality is just over the top in like how much they feel.
Yeah, he seems like he could be a grump, like, he kinda plays like a grumpy character
Mm.
too. But yeah, just, like, even, like, the little things, like, that at the beginning when, his wife says, "Oh, you should go say hi or to the neighbor," and he's like, "You're just sitting there," and he's like, "What? You don't." The way look he gave to her, he's like,
Yes.
"What?" And he, like, furrows his brow, is like, so funny, like, just, like, those
You
little
don't you
things.
don't know my
Yeah.
schedule. How do you know my schedule?
Yeah.
You're there every
And
night.
then, like, when he's in the basement looking at the guys singing, and he's just taking it all
Uh-huh.
in, you're kind of with him, you're like, "What is" what is this?" And it's like you're there with him. I think Paul Rudd. I know I kind of poo pooed him before on the last like trailer that he was in, but like
Mhm.
this, I'm excited. I think he's back for me. This is not like his usual like, he's kind of playing this like
He's an
edgy.
edgy guy. I mean, I you haven't seen this movie. You haven't seen the movie, but I referenced it, I think either in maybe, one of our early episodes, but Mute with, Alexander Skarsgård, but Paul Rudd's in that, and he plays kind of a weird psychopath,
Hmm.
and I feel like he took a little bit of that character edge and is in this in the, like, it's fascinating with this trailer because I can't tell if Paul Rudd is a psychopath or if Tim Robinson's character is a psychopath and, like, imagines all these things, and, like, he got invited over for a beer once, and the guys did this, and and Tim Robinson character is weird, and they were like, we don't," and the rest of it's just in Tim Robinson's character's head,
Hmm.
and then he goes full crazy on them. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see him in this and see what he does. But it seems like it's more of like a Tim Robinson show. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not to me. I'm not like turned off by this version of Paul Rudd and the character he's playing.
Yeah, and I think they did a really interesting job with the trailer of you see a little bit of insight into Tim Robinson's character, but not much, and you don't really see that much insight into the other characters other than that that, there's a group of guys who support each other. Yeah, which I think is interesting. What do you see any other, like, details you pull out?
A couple of things that like stood out to me. I just like little moments that I thought were just funny, and it's things like when he like jumps out through I think that's him jumping out of the jumping
The
through the
glass window
glass
through yeah.
window toward the end. Like there's his like position, the way he jumps out of
There's
it.
I
It's just
they
like
yeah,
it's kind of a funny jump.
in Transformers 2, I think, the guy, like, runs through a window as well and it's, like, humorous. I think it was in 2, maybe it was 3. But yeah, thought it was hilarious. Go ahead, sorry.
And going back into like the sound design, of like this again, like sound really is a big thing with trailer. I think when it's done well,
Mhm,
it can really just like hook you. And this sequence, it's like there's a shot of inside the car of Tim's car looking out of the window while it's raining, and it
mhm,
sounds like they used a subtle thunderstorm sound effects cue there.
mm.
Obviously if it's raining, yeah, but like I don't know, it just like it was very seamless and subtle there, and I thought that was like a nice touch.
I do also I'll note for you the Das Boot of beer.
Yes.
You and I have an experience of drinking a boot. I believe to quote you, "The trick is you have to turn it when you get to the heel."
Well, yeah, that's from
Or the bubble
well, that's
comes
from Beer Fest, but yeah, there's a flash of like Tim Robinson at a bar drinking a boot of beer, which was actually not even like
by
by
himself. It was
himself.
a small
It's a
one. It was a
small
small
beer.
boot,
That's
though. Yeah,
we've had
it's a small boot. It's a
really bigger
yeah.
beers. If you haven't had a boot of beer, definitely try it. It will knock you out if you have full on knee high boot beer.
Yes.
Um,
But yeah, I mean, just to go back, I loved the use of the quotations to play into the vibe that they were doing. Like, as you said, that it started with, like, a total nightmare quote, and then, like, one of the funniest comedies of the year or whatever.
mhm,
That I feel like sometimes they use them where it's just almost like laurels and they're throwing it out there to be like, oh, people reviewed this. And then other times like this, they use it to actually lean into the vibe they're trying to sell in the trailer.
mhm.
I thought they did like, as you said, similar with the score, like everything's kind of playing into it really well, which makes me interesting to see like what Andrew DeYoung's shorts and episodic series, like what those were that
Mhm.
like gave him this sort of insight vibe to this feel.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they've worked together, him and Tim,
Mhm.
like on previous stuff, and maybe what if it was like a collaboration? Because again, it's this seems to kind of take a lot similarities of like what he does in his sketch shows. Again, I'm assuming based on I haven't seen his stuff, but I've seen comments where like, oh, this seems like a long sketch of one of his episodes of I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm curious if they developed this together or something.
Is there a Angels YouTube corner?
Yeah, I can't remember if this is the top comment, but like this one related to me. I'm so confused. Should I be laughing or scared or be scared? I'm
Yeah.
writing these verbatim. These people don't know how to write, but no offense. I do the same thing, but yeah, it's I kind of related to that. I'm so confused. Should I be laughing or scared? What do you think? Well, I mean, are you laughing or are you scared?
Well, I think it's one of those things that it's like it's a it's a standard thing that would be stalker or scary tone, or film like theme. However, it's done in such an absurdist way that it becomes funny.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember if there's other films that are, like, similar to that. I mean, like The Addams Family, not the same at all, but, like, they're talking about killing people or stuff like that, but it's not scary at all. It's humorous. This one is more grounded. Um, it'll come to me when we're done with this episode. I mean, curious for commenters, like, can you think of if people listening, can you think of a movie that's similar to this in that it's like kind of a creepy tone, a creepy concept, but it's done in such a way that it's comedic. I don't know if you can think of one
No,
off the top of your head, but that's like
yeah, I think absurd is sort of like a good descriptor for this as well. What the kind of comedy that Tim Robinson does, um, seems absurd.
Cable Guy. Cable
Mhm.
Guy is a little bit absurdist in like the stalker-esque nature.
Yeah,
But that one's but because that's Jim Carrey, it's a little bit over the top. But like that easily could be a stalker, horror movie, but it's comedy.
yeah. Another moment that I loved in the trailer, and I don't know what's going on. It's just like thrown in toward the end. The one guy is like, I I think yelling
"Oh,
at,
I'm gonna kill you."
yeah, you're dead to
Yeah.
me. He's like, who are you, psycho? Like, it just the
Yes,
performance
yes,
just like
yeah.
seems over the top, and he seems banana. So pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that there's a lot of these, like, as you said at the end, there's these quick moments, but they're so out of context that you have, like, no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Alright,
So what's your
verdict.
yeah?
What's your
What's
verdict?
your
You want me to go?
yeah? Go ahead.
I definitely stream this. I definitely save it and stream it. Um, I mean, if I was going to movies in theaters to the extent that you do, I would say finding a small, like, indie theater in New York to see this would be really interesting of like like a small theater with other people. Like I feel like this one could very much be I saw Mars Attacks back in the day in theaters.
94. Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved it. I was laughing the whole time, and I think I was the only person in the theater who was laughing because I understood the absurdist approach. I think this movie, there's a chance that people are gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see this movie," and then they're not gonna laugh in theaters, and it might be like an awkward theater experience. I'd be curious. But yeah, I definitely stream this though. I think it'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'd see it in theaters. I think it could be fun. I mean, I like comedies in theaters, so and then this just looks kind of weird and zany. And Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson, I think that's a good combination there. So
Mhm.
I'd see it in theaters, but definitely would stream it if I don't get it in theaters. Like this could be in and out of theaters just because all the big movies are
Yeah,
starting to
yeah.
come out. But yeah, I think this I would think this is gonna attract a lot of the Tim Robinson fans. If they're fans of his
Mhm,
shows and his
mhm.
work, they're gonna come out for it.
Yeah. So I'd say, why don't we leave that as our custom question from earlier is, can you think of another film that is similar to this one in that it's like creepy, could be done thriller horror kind of theme. However, because of the way it's done, it's a comedy.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I can't think of one, but yeah, see what people think or come up with.
Awesome. Well, that's our podcast on friendship.
Check it out on May 9th
Thank
or not.
Yeah, or stream it. As always, in the description, links to all the movies, trailers that we've mentioned, and subscribe, like, share with your friends, all that fun stuff. But mainly, thanks for listening.
All right. Thank you.